Hey there, I have been laid up for about the past week or so I haven't been doing much ministry, but I wanted to let you know about some amazing things that have happened in our ministry to the poor and needy here in Minneapolis over the last month. One of the first things that happened this past month was there was a guy I prayed for, and the previous week I had prayed that he would get a job. And he told me that week he got a job, and so it was a great way to start with an answer to prayer. There was another young man that I ran into during an outreach to some homeless encampments, and I need to kind of give some backstory here. The first time I saw this guy, he was actually overdosing in a parking lot, and he was on the ground and shaking and completely unresponsive. The ambulance got called, and we let the EMTs do their thing, but my team stepped back and we're praying for him off to the side. And, some of us are in tears. It was just a very shocking scene and just really pleading to the Lord for his life. Well, fast forward to this past month, I see this guy and I knew that he had lived because I kind of heard it through the grapevine, but I actually got to talk to him and I said, "Hey, you probably don't remember me, but I saw you before when you were at a really low point in your life, and we prayed for you. And I believe that God has a purpose in your life because He's kept you alive through the rough seasons. And there are a lot of people who really care about you, and so does the Lord." And he was speechless after that. Like, he didn't even have like a one word answer, anything. So it was amazing to bring him that news after such an event. There was another conversation I had. It was with the staff person at this food distribution. He was walking around at the end, and he's been lifting heavy stuff and loading cars with food, and he's limping. And I said, "What's going on?" He said, "I think a lot of this work is taking its toll on my knee." So I asked if I could pray for him. I prayed and laid hands on his knee, and he and I both felt this like unusually warm sensation right there in his knee. Well, you go forward about a week later, he was at the end of another food distribution. I saw him, he's walking around, he's just fine, and he'd been doing about the same amount of work as before. And so I asked him, "What's going on with your knee?" He said, "I think God's healing it." So praise God for healing a knee. This guy, he walked up, he asked about what's going on with our food distribution. I filled him in on all the mechanics and stuff. And it turns out he is an international student here to do some PhD work at the University of Minnesota. And he doesn't really believe in any sort of religion or spirituality, but he let me pray for him. So I blessed his PhD work. We had like a 30-minute conversation with each other, talking about all sorts of stuff, spiritual things, how religion interacts with culture, languages, different things with mental health. And by the end, he was just so moved by our interaction that he gave me a hug. And I got to see him the next week. I was gone this past week, so I don't know if he stuck around, but it looked like he was going to. And just seeing how God's love and power through our interaction just really touched him, even though he doesn't believe in God. That was really something special. One more story. There's this guy, he's actually originally from Nigeria, and he's starting a new church here in the Twin Cities. And he's in this place where, being an immigrant, you don't usually have a lot of money, and he's trying to figure out how to get a sound system for his church. So I actually managed to secure the old soundboard from my church, as well as a few other items. And so we're at this food distribution, and most people are carrying out boxes of food to their car. And we're carrying out this heavy 32 channel analog board to this guy's truck, and we've got our arms wide as they'll go, and we're loading this guy up. And it was just so cool to minister to the church like that, even as we're targeting people who are in some sort of physical and financial need. So it was an amazing month. I got to pray with over 50 people. There were over 40 people who received Bibles. Almost all of those were in Spanish. So the hunger for the Lord continues here, and it's awesome. Even when I'm laid up here at home sick, I get to celebrate what God has done. So join me in that, and I'll update you guys next on what God's doing in the month of November.